Just real quick, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. My name's Angel. I'm one of the counselors at Irvine Valley. This will be a group presentation that will start at 9 a.m. So we're still getting situated. I'm glad you're here early. Rest assured, we'll get started at 9, okay? I'm gonna go ahead in the meantime. I'm getting a couple things situated in my office, so I'm gonna turn off my video for a little bit, but we'll start at 9, okay? Welcome, glad you're here. So as folks start to log in, I'll be turning on my camera shortly. My name is Angel Hernandez. I'm the counselor and one of your co-presenters for today. I know we are expecting more folks to join us, so I do want to thank those that are here. Alicia, I also see that you're logged in, so great. I'm glad you're here. We'll formally introduce ourselves to the group shortly after 9 a.m. So in the meantime, feel free to get settled in. If you have something to take notes with or on your computer, if you want to open a doc where you can take a couple notes, that would also be helpful because I think we'll have a lot of information that'll be helpful to everybody. So again, we'll get started shortly, a little after 9 a.m. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Mario.
Go Dodgers. Yes, sir. Dude, they've been playing some crazy games lately. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not that you care.
So Mario is one of our awesome matriculation representatives. So we have ongoing jokes, if you will. As an Angel fan, I have to for the team this year, but it's all in good fun.
I think you're right below me, Angel. I should just get the broom and.
I know, right? Exactly. Which is why I'm actually getting used to where my camera is in my office as opposed to at home because my camera's here, but my monitor is over here. So I'll get that. I'll get it figured out before.
Okay, but it sounds like you've got students. You're looking good. Okay.
We're definitely good. We're already recording, Mario. So
Okay.
as you've requested, so we should be good from there. Right?
Oh, you're recording. Okay, so go Dodgers. Make sure that's in there. And okay, then I'm out of here. Have fun, guys, because I'm gonna check on the other people. So you're looking good so far.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye, sir.
And for those that are still logging in, again, welcome to the Laser Day presentation on navigating college in your online. Excuse me. We'll get started shortly here. Okay, I'm still waiting for a couple of folks to join us. I'm so glad everybody was able to log in today. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started today. Welcome to Laser Day, or another portion of your day. I want to go ahead and introduce myself. Then my co-presenter will also be introducing herself. My name is Dr. Angel Hernandez. I'm one of the counselors here at Irvine Valley. I'm actually currently on campus in the counseling center, which is on the second floor of the Student Services building. So I hope sometime this semester, you'll be able to come in and visit us in person in the counseling center. This is my 9th year at Irvine Valley. And Laser Day is one of my favorite events throughout the year because we get to welcome our new students to the IVC community and all of the awesome resources that are available on our campus and also virtually online. So I'm really excited to spend this session with you to talk a little bit more in detail about the resources that we offer. One of the really neat things about these Laser Day presentations is that as counselors, we get to co-present these sessions with our student leaders. So I'll ask our student leader who's co-presenting with me, Alicia, if you'd like to introduce yourself today.
Hi guys, I'm Alicia and I'm the VP of Public Relations on ASIVC. I'm gonna be a second year this year and I'm a psychology major. And last year was like, I was in your guys' shoes, so I know how it feels and everything. So hopefully I can give you guys some advice of how I got through the year last year. Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alicia. And as we're going through just a couple of, just an overview of obviously we've all utilized Zoom to a certain extent now because of the pandemic. So you do have obviously the option to put in questions in chat. Also, if you have questions that you would like to verbally ask, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question, and Alicia and I will go ahead and address that. Again, depending on your comfort level, if you would like to turn your camera on, you're welcome to do so as well. That is definitely up to you in this session. But again, Alicia and I are really looking forward to spending this time with you today as a point of reference. So, and this is the second year I've had the opportunity to co-present this session with our student leaders, obviously this year with Alicia. And we really wanted to focus in a bit more on the involvement opportunities that exist at IVC in the virtual space, as I mentioned, right? In terms of how you can get the most out of your first semester when the majority of your interaction with the college is going to be online. So keep that in mind. We're going to share some of our, best recommendations and items that we really encourage you to do. What's interesting about this is that I found as I put this presentation together is a lot of the recommendations that I have as a counselor are very similar to the ones I would make for students if we were completely in person, right? It's just translating those over to the virtual space. With the added component that, of course, we have to be, I think, a little bit more intentional of seeking out those connections, right? So with that said, let me jump over to a little bit more detail of what we're going to be covering in our session today. So obviously we did our introductions. We're going to talk a little bit about the transition to college and all of that newness and uncertainty that comes with that. We'll review some of the key online web pages on the IVC site that'll be really important for you to get familiar with now that school starts next week, right? And then also, Alicia's going to go over some tips from her perspective of what you really need to do in order to be a successful online college student, okay? Now, I'm intentionally saying online college student because I do know, obviously, in high school, most people did some type of online experience in the last year and a half. But what does that look like in terms of doing that in college, right? What are the similarities? What are the differences in terms of how your courses are formatted, right? Alicia, would you like to add anything here?
I think we're good. I think I'm gonna go in more depth when it comes to giving them advice later on, but I think we're good for now.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we're looking at here, and the reason that I love this time of the year is again the newness that comes with it, right? So I mean, it is a transition to college, right? In terms of a new space, you go from again being the senior in high school to college. What's this? For some students, IVC was their top choice. For other students, maybe there was different issues that maybe impacted you coming to community college before transferring. Regardless of that scenario, and I truly mean this, and this is one of the reasons that I love working at IVC and working with students like each of you, is it really is, as the quote says here, the beginning of anything you want to be, right? If you were in high school, a great student and super involved and got the most out of your high school experience, awesome. I encourage you to keep doing that. You're going to find that at IVC, you're going to be able to interact with a diverse range of students, faculty, and staff. Take advantage of those opportunities. If you were on the other side of that, let's say that maybe as you reflect back on your high school experience, maybe you didn't get the most out of your high school experience. IVC is a new start. It truly is. It's an opportunity to maximize that experience. So one thing I will say as a counselor is that I'd like you to reflect back a little bit on how your high school experience went, especially your senior year. And I'd like you to think about what are the things that went well? Can we capitalize on those things coming into your first semester of college? If things maybe ended up a little shaky in high school, let's intentionally target the things that we want to make sure we do better at, right? A lot of students come to IVC because of our high transfer rate. We are very proud to say that we have the highest transfer rate in Orange County. That is not just because you have awesome faculty and staff. I think that's more of a reflection of the abilities of our students and us as a college helping you do that. So by all means, I know Alicia's going to talk in a little bit about her goals and what she's planning to do in transferring. In the 9 years I've been here, I have truly seen students go to every UC, every Cal State. I've seen students go out of state if transfer is what you're looking at. It is truly an opportunity to do that when you're starting at IVC. I can tell you my students that transfer that I'm still in contact with. I will say, and I will own that this is where I, as an educator, get protective about the community college environment, because I think before students get into the community college environment, the community colleges somewhat get a bum rap when you compare it to the universities, right? There's not that prestige level that's viewed in terms of being admitted and what have you. But my students that transfer, right? I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to students after they've earned their degree from the university and they reflect back on their experience on IVC and they say IVC was the perfect stepping stone for me. At times I do get students that really highlight and even tell me, hey, I miss the smaller community that I had at IVC compared to the university. But you will find that IVC, regardless of what your goal is going to be a great stepping stone and a great preparation to whatever's next, okay? Let me stop there for a sec. Alicia, do you want to add anything here? If not, I got 2 other points I can make.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, you said everything like perfectly, because for me, I mean, like, I wasn't super involved in high school. I wasn't like the ones that like didn't get involved at all, but I wish that I was more involved. And coming to IBC, it was like a clean slate. Like I feel like a new person. Like I'm a totally different, I have a totally different mindset. I have a totally different goal and everything. And I think just if you get involved in IVC, like there are so many opportunities here. It's like there's a reason we are the #1 transfer rate out of like all of the community colleges, because we do have so many like amazing programs that you could get involved with, and I feel like I'm utilizing those to the best that I can, which is great. And I think it's just like exactly what this says, like it's a new beginning, and you really you it's your choice to make a new beginning from what you were in high school. So you just got to take advantage of everything that IBC has to offer.
Thank you, Alicia. And I wanted to highlight two more points when we're talking about the transition to college. So as much as IBC is a new beginning, and again, in terms of what I feel kind of sometimes a community college gets a bum rap, right? In terms of the classes that you're starting in your first semester, that is truly the start of your bachelor's degree, right? So the classes that you're taking with us at IBC are going to be applied to your bachelor's degree. So again, you know, back to that bum rap, sometimes students feel, well, do these classes even count? I'm not taking them at a university. Absolutely, they count. Your bachelor's degree, think about it this way. Your bachelor's degree is divided into an upper half and a lower half. You're focusing on that lower half, or what is known as lower division at IVC. So everything with our fancy words of articulation agreements, which pretty much says, those are our contracts with the universities that say, if you take Psych 1 with us, that's going to count for Psych 101 at X university. That is guaranteed that those classes do count. So I will say that it is the opportunity for a fresh start, but you also want to be intentional of how you maximize that opportunity, because even though you may not be at that university right now, the classes that you're taking, again, are part of your bachelor's degree. And I want to make sure I emphasize that for you. Lastly, the other thing I want to talk about, like in terms of the transition, I know we're talking about the newness and the fresh start, right? I would be remiss as a counselor if we didn't talk a little bit about the uncertainty that may come with this transition, right? Especially if, none of you have been full-time college students before, right? So what do you expect? What are the expectations of a college professor versus a high school teacher, right? That's there. To be honest with you, everybody else on the Zoom and everybody else participating in Laser Day is feeling the same way. I want to also specifically mention, if you're a first generation college student, so meaning if your parents didn't complete a college degree, such as mine and such as 1/3 of our students here at IBC, there is that newness. What do you expect? What is a professor? What are office hours? There is a transition. Reach out. We're going to cover the different services. It's very true that IBC believes in each of our students, and we expect for some of that uncertainty to exist. You can do this. You can truly get to wherever you want to go. Just make sure that you're reaching out for help. One of the biggest challenges I will say that sometimes my students have, right? As much as awesome as IBC is, it's really a skill to be able to be aware of when you might need assistance and to ask for assistance. It's a word that I like to call vulnerability, right? We all kind of like to put on that mask of, oh, I got this all covered. I'm good to go. I don't need any help. Actually, and great if you feel that you got a good foundation of how you should approach college, great. But if you feel some of that uncertainty and that newness is common, and I have more students than not that experience that. Reaching out to say, hey, I'm not sure of what the expectation is, or how many hours I should study a week, or just how I approach all of this. Come in and talk to us in the counseling center. In a bit, we're going to talk about other resources and different clubs. Those are all resources that can help you make that transition and help to put those concerns at ease. Does it make sense? Okay, great. So again, if you have follow-up questions in the chat, or you're welcome to unplug ask over the microphone as well, okay? So let's go a little bit more in detail here. A couple of key pages that we're going to review just to make sure that you're aware of these. And in a moment, I'll share my screen to review these. But we're going to walk through the helpline for campus IT. We're going to talk about Canvas. You'll hear us talking about that a lot, right? We'll also talk about MAP and MySite and go over some of the details in the class schedule and the events page, and also talk about some of the virtual resources that our different centers offer as well. So what I'm going to do now is, give me a sec here, I'm going to move my presentation over so I can share the different web pages that we're looking at here, okay? So I am, just as a point of reference, obviously this is our web page. I, like many of you, utilize Google search a lot more, right? So what I'm gonna do here is, just as a point of reference, bring up a couple of those pages, right? And the first one being Irvine Valley College tech support, okay? So when I'm looking at this, this is gonna be a central website, and I actually am gonna put each of these in the chat so you have them. The recordings will be posted on the IVC webpage after the laser day is over. Usually what our admissions office does, and I saw the comment in the chat, usually about a week later, you receive an email with the link to all the different workshops as well. But the first resource that I'm reviewing with you is gonna be the tech support page. So this is really where you're gonna want to go if you have any questions about logging into, if you're on campus, logging into our Wi-Fi, if you have any issues with logging into your Outlook, any issues with logging onto Canvas, all of those pages will point back to this. So again, make sure that you're utilizing that resource. Another one that I wanted to highlight that you'll hear the campus talk about a lot is going to be Canvas, right? So on the IVC webpage, and Alicia's gonna go to it in a little bit more detail a little later in the presentation, but just, you know, again, I don't wanna make the assumption that everybody knows how to get to their Canvas page. And that's why I appreciate that you came right virtually to Laser Day, because a lot of what we're covering now are going to be resources that are applicable next week, right? So Canvas, of course, is going to be the main platform for the different pages for your classes. So that's going to be a key resource for you. Then MySite, at this point, you have all gone into MySite to register for your classes. I did want to highlight one resource. I'm going to go ahead and log in to MySite to tell you a little bit more about MAP, which is an acronym for My Academic Plan. So my view too, once you're in MySite, as you're seeing on my screen, is a little different than what you'll see as a student, okay? So for reference, the reason I wanted to talk to you about the My Academic Plan page is for a couple reasons. So as college students, you're gonna be registering for new classes each semester. I really wanna encourage you to have an overall map or academic plan developed in your first semester by, I would say, the end of October, okay? By the end of October at the latest. The reason I'm saying that, so that's my first tip that I'm giving you that you can apply shortly here, right? The reason I'm saying that, as crazy as it sounds, you're still getting settled with the fall semester, rightfully so, but in October and November will be when you're registering for the spring semester, okay? Because of that, we want to make sure that the courses that you're registering for in the registering for spring are the courses that best align with your academic goal, okay? The My Academic Plan tool is helpful, and you can go in there and navigate a little bit on your own, but you definitely want to do, as I'm waiting for it to load here, you definitely want to, even if you go in and develop an initial plan, you want to make sure that you're reviewing that plan with the counselor. Shortly, I'll mention the ways that you can review it with a counselor, whether it's through an online Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, okay? But you'll see that the My Academic Plan website provides an overview of the different classes you would need, because, and I'm going to cheat because I have a couple of planning templates that I use already, but you'll see here, so you all as students won't have this many templates. This is what I have as a counselor. But one of the key things that you'll find here, and I'm going to go into this first one that I have here for like Kines for transfer, okay? I'm not going to go ahead and plan out the entire plan for you, but just I want to highlight what you'll actually see in MAP, right? On the first tab, you'll see the different types of courses that you can take as a student. Most of you are going to primarily take in preparation for transfer 2 main types of courses, what are called your major prep courses and your gen ed courses, okay? A lot of times students think when they're coming to community college that the primary thing that they're doing is gen ed. It is, but it's not the only thing. Let me kind of give you a further context on that. For our UCs and Cal States, they want students to complete a minimum of 60 transferable units. Of those 60 transferable units, approximately 40 are going to come from your general education, right? So 60 minus 40 leaves you 20. The other 20 come from what's called major prep, okay? So that's one of the key things. Again, students usually think I'm just going to community college to do my gen ed. Yes, that's a lot of what you do, but there's also another important category known as your major prep that you're doing. And we as counselors will help you plan that out based on where you're thinking about transferring to, okay? I think what becomes more immediate to a student when I'm planning, and this is to give you an example here, okay? You're gonna see that when you meet with the counselor, we'll populate all your courses for the different semesters, right? So obviously fall, this is a sample template. I have 2 courses there. Once you meet with us, we'll help you develop that roadmap of, we know what you're taking in fall, what should you take in spring? Does summer make sense based on your transfer timeline? Fall, spring of the following year. We'll have that whole conversation of what that process looks like. So getting this map done within your first semester really gives you that roadmap that you can follow for the rest of your time as an IVC student. Now, I will say that even if you get your My Academic Plan done in your first semester, I still want you to, at minimum, my second recommendation is going to be to meet with the counselor at least once a semester. Even if you got your academic plan done in your first semester, again, your checklist should be every semester right before registration, let me check in with the counselor. The reason I say that, it's kind of like a checkup when you go to a doctor. Hey, are you still progressing? Are you still looking at, sociology for Cal Poly Pomona? Oh, are you undecided now? Are you thinking about changing your major? No problem. Let's go ahead and switch up your plan. I will say that the transfer process has a lot of ins and outs. My students that regularly utilize counseling services, I think find the experience more engaging by that it becomes more of an ongoing conversation with the counselor versus a 20-minute cramming session of what the requirements are. So again, I think if you're doing that once a semester check-in at minimum, you find that the information is broken down more into manageable chunks of information. And again, my once a semester is like my minimum recommendation. You can come in to meet with us anytime you have a question, okay? Alicia, would you like to add anything there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I switched my plans like 3 or 4 times already since the very first time that I created my plan, just because of like where I like the direction I was going kind of changed like as I went through like college. So definitely like just keep up with your plan and keep up with your counselors so that you don't miss anything. Like if you do decide to want to change a major or something, make sure you do talk to our counselor right away because your prereqs for each university that you want to go to, they're different. So if you don't meet your requirements and you have like good grades, you have your extracurriculars, but if it comes to you not finishing your prereqs, you won't be able to get into the university that you want. So make sure to stay on top of your map. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And it's completely what Alicia mentioned in terms of, is it out of the norm for a student to change their major or to change their primary institution? Not at all. We are well versed in addressing those scenarios with students, and actually it's quite common. Another reason why I find that students choose to come to IVC is maybe there was a little uncertainty of where I go in terms of the university, what's the best fit. So we definitely want you to do some of that exploration in a tailored fashion, so we're still getting you to progress towards your goal. So another resource, and again, just to familiarize you with a couple of different resources on our webpage, I'm going to go to the class schedule. I think by now you all have seen it, but I want to highlight the detail section for your classes, okay? So obviously off of the main page, I'm going to go to the class schedule, which is about halfway down here. Obviously fall. So you have all of your classes, all of the classes that we're offering, right? What I would like you to do is sometime between now and the start of the semester on Monday, I'd like you to take a look at the listing for your class in here. So I'm going to pick Earth Science just as an example, okay? So when we look at Earth Science, so obviously sometimes you'll hear us as counselors talk about, hey, this is the course, right? And then each of these is a different section, right? You only enroll for one of those sections. You should be familiar by now with that. If not, again, please ask us. But let's say we were looking at this individual section. There is the details link here, okay? I wanted to highlight that because on the details link, as you can see down here under important dates, there's a host of important dates throughout the semester that you want to be familiar with, okay? The information it'll provide here, obviously, when the class starts, when's the last day to add, if students are still looking to add a course, okay? For students that are still looking to add courses, once the first class meeting has been held, you do need to email the instructor to see if they're still adding students through what's called an ad code or an APC code, okay? So there's information here on the last day to add with the with an ad code. You want to be familiar with that, okay? More importantly, for the courses you're already enrolled in, there is deadlines here for withdrawing with the W. And what does that mean, right? Most of your classes by default are going to be the grading option of an A, B, C, D, or F, right? We're shooting for A's and B's. At times, a student might be in a scenario in a class where they might consider withdrawing from the class. Before you consider doing that, before I even look at these deadlines, there's two things that I want to make sure my students do before they consider withdrawing from a class. One is to talk to their course instructor if they're feeling a little behind in the course material, to really see what you can do in that semester to get caught up and get to the level of expectation you have for yourself and the professor has set. The second one would be to have a conversation with the counselor about how potentially withdrawing from a course impacts your overall plan, your overall academic plan. depending on the situation, and each situation is different, but for some students, we might be able to just make a course up in the summer. For other students, we might decide that, hey, it's better to stay in the course. So it's a very nuanced conversation that we want to have on an individual basis for you. But if you are considering that option, each of the classes is going to have a deadline when you can drop without a W. What that means is if you drop without a W by the stated deadline, the course that you were enrolled in would never come up on your transcript. So it's not even documented on your transcript that you took the course. That's the ideal way to withdraw. The other option that you'll have is the second one that we see here is drop with a W. When you do that, it is stated on your transcript that you withdrew, let's say, from Psychology 1. Withdrawing here and there because of a personal circumstance is okay, but we want to have an in-depth conversation of what is the most appropriate decision for you, right? So you want to be aware of these deadlines. If you were still in the class after that date, then you would be locked into that letter grade of the A, B, C, D, or F. I will say the majority of our students do positively complete all of their courses, but if a course tends to be a little bit more challenging, and that's a good thing, we expect you to be more challenged in college. But if you're feeling a little behind, I wanted to make sure that you were familiar with what the different times and deadlines are here. So again, just take a look at the detail section for your classes so you're familiar with those deadlines that are there, okay? And before we go to the next resources, I see that there's another question about what specifically are gen ed courses, because I thought major courses in gen ed are the same. So Ethan, that's a great question. At times, major and gen ed do overlap, but they are two distinctly different categories when we're preparing your transfer plan. That would be a great question to discuss more in detail with the counselor during an appointment. Okay. I wanted to then, as we're getting to the different resources, so just a couple other things, especially right now, since we're doing everything so remotely, on the homepage, you do see the events tab here. You're going to see that on an ongoing basis, there's a host of different workshops that are offered through Zoom that you may want to check out. Like there'll be our different application workshops. There'll be different workshops on balancing school and personal life and health and wellness. So this is a great part of our page that I think of our homepage the students sometimes unintentionally overlook. That's going to have a lot of immediate ways you can get connected to the campus. So make sure you check that out. As we're progressing here, want to make sure I highlight a couple of other resources for you before I hand it over to Alicia. Okay. So those are going to be the following. Okay. So when you're seeing the different centers, okay, the counseling center, as I mentioned, is going to be a great resource that's available both remotely and in person throughout the fall semester. The rest of these centers are going to be more tutoring or support-based centers. The writing center is going to be a great resource for students that are taking Writing 1 to help them in really refining their concepts. The Math Center is great in terms of focusing on if you need a little extra support for your math courses, obviously. They will meet with you in a similar Zoom format. The Student Success Center is basically where tutoring occurs for all other subjects outside of writing and math. And obviously the library is going to be a key resource for helping you with gathering the different resources that you would need for your different papers that you will have in class. I always use the saying of it's easier to keep up than to catch up, okay? Again, it's easier to keep up than to catch up. So if you know that there's a subject that's usually a little bit more challenging for you when you think about your high school experience, I would strongly encourage you to work in that support through the Writing Center, the Math Center, the Success Center from the beginning of the semester so you're able to stay on pace. Alicia, did you want to talk about your experience a little bit with any of these centers before we move over to your section?
Yeah, so for fall, like my first fall semester, I entered in the writing center, which is like kind of, it's labeled as a course, like you have to register for it, but it was really helpful because I took honors, writing one honors, and it was like my first semester in like a college writing class, which is like very different from high school. And also I took honors, so it was like very difficult. And I went to the writing center like almost every week. What it's something good about that is like every single time we had an essay due, I would always go to the writing center and there will be professors there constantly just helping you with your paper. So I always like went over my whole entire essay with the writing center before submitting, and that really helped because they gave me lots of tips on what to change to help me get that A. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's a great point, and you'll find that your writing professors also highlight that in terms of the actually 0.25 unit course you would have to enroll in. It's called Writing 181, and that you can enroll in early in your semester as well if it's something that you choose to utilize. But I really encourage students to do that as well. So definitely check out these resources. They're a wealth of support when you're talking about making that connection and being successful in your classes. Alicia, would you like to cover this content here?
Yes, and also to answer Ethan's question, they are open every day, but between like a specific time, but you'll know the time when you enter in those centers. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I feel like just tips for you guys to be successful on your first year as an online college student. So obviously Canvas is where you're going to find all of your classes and all of the information that you would need during your classes. But for me, something that really helped was to create notifications. I'm going to see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay. So for me, so obviously this is your Canvas. Hopefully most of you guys are like familiar with it, but if you aren't too familiar with it, here's where you could check your grades. You can see all your grades here in this little button. Here's your notification things. This is where I like to be at the dashboard, because when my classes do show up, there will be like lists of everything that's due. So you want to make sure to not go past your due date of each assignment. So this is like a really good source where you could see all of your homework that's due. This is where your courses are and everything. But I wanted to mention something about your notifications because this is what helped me a lot. So on Canvas, I think it's really helpful if you turn your notification settings on so that for like specific things like announcements, you could set it up to like immediately notifications on your phone, and like you'll get the immediate notification for it. So that's something that really helped me because I didn't have to check Canvas constantly to see all the important information. But by turning this thing on, like a buzz on my phone, and I'll be set. I'll know what the professor is telling me to do. I'll know any updates. So that was super helpful. So if you do want to turn your notifications on for specific things, you don't have to turn it on for everything, because like grading policies or like course content, these things you could go on regularly and just check, or for like important things, or like if you want to see like what your grade is right off the bat, because sometimes I know it's like dreadful waiting for that one essay to be graded or like that one test to be graded. So if you do want to turn your notifications on for that, that's super helpful as well. So this is something that I would suggest as like a tip for you guys if you do want to turn your notifications on. How do I stop sharing? How do I stop sharing?
You just click on you should see a little red button there.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. And another thing is canvases. Oh, I mean like Outlooks. Outlook is where you will find your emails, IBC emails. I know that during high school you might have not used your emails that often because everything is like in person or like through your whatever high school website that you are using. But for IBC, a lot of the super important information are sent out through your IBC email. So that's something that's super helpful if you like just want to check it regularly, just to get in the habit of it. Because I know when I first started last year, I didn't check it as regularly as I have right now. But there were some important information that I kind of missed in the very, very beginning of the school year. Because like if you think about it, if your professor sent out something on Monday and it's an important information for something on Wednesday, but you don't check your email until Friday, then you probably would have missed that important announcement that your professor has made out to you. So yeah, I think Canvas and then email just to check them regularly and to be on track. I think one of the biggest things that I can advise you guys is to be on track, because if you fall behind just one day, it feels like you're falling behind a whole entire month. That's how I felt like with my whole entire year last year. And then another thing that I wanted to suggest for you guys to be a successful online student is to get involved. You don't have to necessarily get involved in everything, but getting involved really helps your IBC time. Like you'll feel much more included, and being online, it's really hard to have that social aspect of your college life. You're not on campus, you're not talking to anyone in a face-to-face environment. So getting involved in clubs is basically like your only way of like having a social life at college this whole entire year. I mean, there are classes in person and you can meet people through your classes, but the most like the most fun way to meet people is through clubs, because we put on lots of activities like movie nights or like different club events that you could go to. So that's a really good way to get involved and meet people and just to be within the IBC community, because you might know something that someone else might not know of, and being able to be in a club or get interactions between different students and your peers, you're going to be able to share your information to them. And if they know some information that you don't, if you guys talk, you'll get to know that information and you'll be on track as well. So that's clubs. And we also have a lot of different programs at IBC. Obviously, there's the honors program, which was super helpful because there's a lot of specific programs to different UCs that only the honors program offers. So if you can, I would advise you guys to strongly apply for the honors program. There's like a guaranteed transfer to UCI, and there is the tag if you guys are aware of that, but there's also the honors to honors that only the honors program offers to UCI. And there's also the TAP to UCLA if anyone is interested in UCLA. It's not like a guaranteed transfer, but it does guarantee you like an 80 to 90%, which is much more above the 12 to 13% of the regular applications for freshmen. So that's like the programs that you could get involved with. There's also the Promise program for financial aid, and there's also the EOPS program, which is also super helpful for like your financial aid and everything. And another thing to get involved is the events. IBC puts on a lot of events either through the honors program or just the IBC community as a whole. We planned a movie night, like an in-person drive-in movie night with like food and everything, but unfortunately because of like the cases going up, it got canceled. But we are planning to do more, hopefully doing more in the whole entire year. So these events are like one of the only opportunities that you'll have basically to get super involved in the IBC community as a whole if you're not interested in like clubs or anything. So look out for events as well. That's like a super helpful way to get through the year basically. There's some questions about this.
I got you on there. So when we're looking at those, yeah, those are good questions there just for reference. So honors does have a higher consideration rate than tag, but I will say tag is really high too, right? So I think in terms of how we're mapping this all out, if you happen to be in the honors program, then maybe you're going to use the honors consideration for like UCLA and UCI, but then you'll use tag for like UC Santa Barbara as an example. So it's not like an all or nothing thing, if you will. I think that's part of what we as counselors will help you plan out, right? So again, that's why it's that importance of meeting with us consistently. Yes, honors has a higher percentage of students admitted into a UC, but again, you want to look at that with context. We as IVC have the highest transfer rate, right? So we do have, as awesome as honors is, we do have a high number of students that transfer to a UC every year that aren't part of the honors program, okay? So it's important to research that information. Wanted to echo what Alicia said about the clubs. Please, my kind of third tip, if you will, is deliberately join at least one club this semester. Again, it helps you get more out of your experience at IVC, but I will also say, if I'm trying to help you be as competitive as possible to transfer, it is also something else that you can talk about with regards to your involvement at IVC on your transfer application, especially to UCs, okay? So again, you want to be intentional about building that experience as we're looking at that. Alicia, would you like me to go on, or go ahead?
Oh yeah, I was just typing in the chat that like if you guys want to know more about like the programs the honors program offers, there is a session right after this if you want to join. Yeah.
Definitely, good point. No, absolutely. We'll talk about how folks can get over to the other sessions in a bit, but I wanted to make sure you also had the opportunity to talk about this slide here.
Yes, so obviously there's the IVC Irvine Valley College Instagram, which like gives out like big announcements and stuff, but there's also the We Are IVC Instagram, and that's run by the ASIVC student community. We kind of target more of like events specifically for the students and like all the important information, like small important information that we want you guys to keep up with. So if you do want to follow us, the Instagram is there. Also, club day is coming up. So if you do want to know how many clubs you could join and everything, the club day is coming up. It's going to be like also a Zoom meeting. Unfortunately, we used to have in-person club fairs, and like everyone has like a little booth, and you just kind of like go around to different clubs, which is super fun. I actually never got involved with it because I came here last year as well. So it was like unfortunate that I didn't get to see it, but I heard that it was super fun and super interesting. But we do have the virtual option. It's going to be September 22nd. And basically what will happen here is just like introducing all of the clubs on campus. So every single club will be at this meeting. So if you do attend, you'll get to know all the clubs. And if you want to join them, there will be information during the meeting of how to join and like who to contact and everything. So make sure to show up at Club Day on September 2nd if you want to. Yeah.
That's on September 22nd. Yeah, September 22nd, right? And I participated last year in the club day. I mean, the nice thing, I agree with Alicia, it was really neat when it's usually in person. It's out on the quad and you get to meet people in person. I participated in the club day last year when we did a Zoom format, and it was a good opportunity in this kind of format that we're in right now to get a quick overview of all the different clubs. So I would strongly encourage you to make sure you log on that day to participate in Club Day. But you don't have to wait until Club Day to find out more about the different clubs that are there that IVC offers. I did put in the chat for you a link to the IVC club list for you to get a feel for all of the different involvement opportunities that exist. It's all about building your community and what you connect to. So if one of those clubs that's listed there is something that speaks to you, check it out. If there's something that isn't there that you might be interested in, there's also a process through our student activities office to be able to start another club. So those are all great resources for really forging those connections there. Alicia, anything else you want to add about that, or kind of getting involved with ASIVC or what have you?
Yeah, I think for getting involved, for me, like last year, I didn't think that I was gonna get as involved as I am now until like mid fall semester. So if you feel that you are like unprepared as of now, or like if you see your friends that are like a bit unprepared and you want to help them out, I think in the middle of fall is where you could start really getting involved with everything. For because like the ASIVC elections for senators and judicial court, if you guys want, the judicial court is open now. So if you want to join the ASIVC family, it'll be great. You'll be like the first to know of like important stuff for the student body, and you'll be like the first to know like what the board decides and everything, like updates and everything that you could relate to your students. So it's a pretty good feeling there. And you're also helping your community, which is like amazing. And then there's the senator elections coming up in the middle of fall. And then for clubs, it's I know that like this is like something that a lot of people would want to show on their resumes and like their college apps, of having like being into the community and also like leadership experience. I know that's important for a lot of people. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to show your leadership within these clubs, because these clubs need officer and boards themselves. So if you are interested in club like this fall semester and they're running for some board positions in the spring, you could probably like apply and you might get your leadership opportunity there. So it's not only just like interacting and like being involved in the clubs, but you could get a lot from it as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alicia, for that. And I know we're coming up on our time, and we did cover a lot of information, but again, if anything, really being intentional of putting yourselves out there to get connected through the campus, of, you know, joining the clubs and activities that we talked about, utilizing the different centers throughout the semester. I want to mention one more thing is, in the virtual space, make sure that you're connecting with at least one other student in each of your classes, right? In terms of being able to talk through different assignments and to be able to study, that makes a huge difference. The other thing that I would really encourage students to do is to make sure you take advantage of your professor's office hours. Those are hours that we have outside of class time where we can meet with students on a one-on-one basis. I encourage you to do that early and often in the semester, because again, it allows you to get to know your professor a little bit more, and also to ask for specific assistance if needed. So definitely utilize all of those resources. You do see our emails there on the screen. If you do have follow-up questions, we are able to assist you as possible through those emails as well. Okay. And then what I wanted to also mention was, as we're coming up on our time here, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to the rest of the schedule for today for Laser Day. Okay. It looks like, let me actually bring this over. So I dropped the link in, but just for reference, as you can see on the screen, in terms of after our workshop, next, you do have the option. You should have registered already for one of the student services programs, right? So these different workshops that you see here on the different topics, such as the honors program, financial aid, student life, and tech support, that is going to be really the culmination of your day, right? But again, we are super excited that you're going to be part of the IVC community. Reach out is the main thing. And really, truly, this is a great opportunity for you. And as you can see, We, as faculty, staff, and your student leaders are here to support you. So we're glad that you chose IVC. And, you know, I'm looking forward to the growth each of you will have in your time at IVC and where you will go from here. There's amazing opportunities that lie ahead. Alicia, would you like to add anything before we wrap up?
Yeah, I'm just super excited to welcome everyone.
So welcome, thank you, Alicia. And again, as you can see, why I like doing these co-presentations, right? You get my view as a counselor, and then you get the perspective of a student leader, where it's sometimes I just as a counselor get out of the way and let you all talk as students, because you all, you know, share that similar experience. So again, we're here to help. Reach out to your student leaders, to your counselors, to your professors, and I can't wait for the positive experience that you'll have here, okay? Enjoy your last Laser Day workshop, and thank you again for your participation. This concludes our session. Thank you so much. Alicia, do you want to stay on just for a sec while folks log off? Yeah.